I regret I'm not able to make you work on Sundays, to be honest. If I can make you work on Sundays, I'll be more happier, because I work on Sundays also. What do you do sitting at home? How long can you stare at your wives? How long can the wife stare at your husband? Come on, get to the office and start working.
Well, that is the chairman of one of India's largest infrastructure companies, L&T. And those were the comments made by Mr. S.N. Subramaniam, and they have sparked a furor and outrage of sorts on social media. The video that you just saw was him talking to employees during an internal company exchange, and it sort of went viral, went out. The video actually showed Mr. S.N. Subramaniam saying that he regrets not being able to make employees work on Sundays. He also questioned how long employees would sit at home and stare at their wives or husbands. The company is now standing behind him and has defended the remarks. In a statement, L&T said, extraordinary outcomes require extraordinary effort. But the condemnation on social media was swift, with people from all walks of life weighing in on the comment. Harsh Goenka of RPG Group called the 90-hour work week a recipe for burnout, I quote, adding that work-life balance isn't optional but essential. Actor Deepika Padukone said that it is shocking to see people in such senior positions make such statements. The L&T chairman is not the first to spark a debate over work-life balance, but this issue has divided India Inc., especially at the higher echelons of power. Mr. N.R. Narayanamurthy famously or infamously argued for a 70-hour work week. Speaking at the CNBC-TV18 India Business Leadership Awards, Murthy said that he actually stands by his original comment and will take it with him to his grave. So those are the kind of comments that we've heard. Let's actually just remind ourselves of Mr. Narayanamurthy's stand on this issue, and then we'll introduce our panel of experts.
I will take this with me to my grave. I am very proud of having worked very hard. I used to go to the office at 6:20 in the morning and return at 8:30 in the evening. That was 14 hours and 10 minutes. And I worked 6.5 days till I retired. And I'm very proud of it. Therefore, I am not going to take it back.
Now, Mr. Murthy and Mr. Subramaniam are not the only ones. Several other CEOs as well, including many young executives who are in charge of the so-called new age companies or internet-based businesses. They've also been arguing for a healthy work-life balance, but more work perhaps than life. Ola's Bhavesh Agarwal does not believe in work-life balance. He even called weekends a Western concept. Kunal Shah, who runs the fintech firm Cred, said that no big achievement can come with work-life balance, unquote. And these are all quotes that I'm, by the way, reading out. This is not me paraphrasing anyone. So why are so many CEOs across corporate India arguing for a 70 to even a 90-hour work week? This at a time when studies are showing that a 4-day work week perhaps is working quite well in many other markets, including perhaps in Japan. It is making employees even more productive. Japan has mandated now a 4-day working week for government employees, especially in a move to support working mothers. So where does India Inc. stand on this, and what's the way forward? Well, I have a full house with me, a full panel. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, founder and executive vice chairman at InfoEdge. Devina Mehra, founder of First Global. Piyush Pandey, chief advisor at Ogilvy Advertising. Also with us, Nilesh Shah, MD and CEO of Kotak Mahindra AMC, and Neeti Sharma, CEO of Team Leads Digital. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. In our regular course of business, we talk to you about markets, about your companies, about your sectors and growth. But this is a very different discussion and a very, very important one at hand, because employees have lashed out on social media and they're asking, where is this really coming from? So let me take the opening thoughts from our panel first. Mr. Bikhchandani, if I could, start the discussion with you.
Look, first of all, I think I saw the video. I think it was half in jest. 90 hours a week is about 7 days a week. It's about 12 and a half hours a day. You can do it for a week or two if there's a crisis, if there's a deadline to meet, but I don't think it's sustainable 52 weeks of the year into a 30-year career. And I'm pretty sure the L&T chief himself did not mean it that way. He's motivating his troops, motivating his employees, asking people to work harder to achieve outcomes. And that's par for the course. I mean, Piyush on the panel, he's a career in advertising. I started my career in advertising. I know the kind of working hours that there are in advertising, and believe me, they are much, much more than 40 hours a week. But you don't do it because you're forced to do it. You do it because you like your job. You do it because you love it. You do it because that is what is required. Devina started life in Citibank, and she's an investor. And I'm pretty sure when Tokyo is open, she's awake. When Singapore is open, she's awake. When India is open, she's awake. When Dubai is open, she's awake. And when London and New York open, she's awake. So I'm not sure where this is coming from, but I would not be outraged. I would, say, yeah, fine. It's part of life.
It's fine. It's part of life. In a bit, we'll actually throw to a soundbite, because I was just speaking with Mr. Rajiv Bajaj on the matter, and he took a far more sort of human approach to it, and very, very different view to what Mr. Murthy and what Mr. Subramaniam have expressed. But let's ask Devina. Devina, like Sanjeev is saying, you track markets pretty much around the world. You interact with investors. But is it that difficult to switch off? Do professions like finance, and of course media, we know how media works, Piyush, with advertising. I mean, these sort of industries aside, but even things like finance or technology, services, is it really important to work 70 hours, 80 hours or 90 hours?
I don't think so. And I don't think, all studies will show that you cannot work productively for 70 or 90 hours a week every week. The human being is not capable of doing that. So that's very, very clear. It's I think, complete bunkum that on a consistent basis you can work like that. So you have to prioritize what is important. Yes, at the beginning stage of your career, you have to put in long hours, not so much in office. I'm not a believer in this, which was my employer Citibank's culture of just remaining at the desk for 9 or till 9 or till 8. But I found most people would waste time during the day and then show up just to show their bosses they were at their desk. So that is not a culture that I've ever encouraged in my organization. And I noticed that all the people who have recommended the 70 hours, 84 hours, 90 hours, I checked, all of them are married with 2 kids each. So this is very much a privileged gender saying this, that somebody else will take care of the home, somebody else will take care of the children, and I can work as long as I want. I think we must remember that if our aim, for example, some people are saying for nation building, no nation has progressed to a middle income stage without female labor participation. And we need to get more and not less women.
Yes.
So unless there is also a social revolution, which would mean that men also take care of the home and children. This is a very, very biased perspective that on a consistent, but yes, sometimes you are required to be there in the evening. I have done calls at 1:30 a.m. to a Boston client when I was on the sell side, and then taken a morning flight elsewhere. So those kind of things happen. But if every week you expect people to be at their desks for that long, it's not productive. And people need time to think. Yes, you have to put in the 10,000 hours to learn your craft, which might be outside office. You need to do courses, read books. All of that is real work. Just time in office is not work.
No, sure. And I'm going to come to Piyush in just a bit, because this has become such a massive media storm now, social media and on media as well. But let me take that point on women in the workforce with Neeti as well. Neeti, chime in on this. At a time when we're talking about it, letting women break the glass ceiling and generally more women in the workforce, prescribing and mandating sitting at your desk for X, Y, or Z number of hours, is that going to help the cause at all, or will it sort of drive women away? Because a lot of people, especially if we talk about sort of the employees at the lower rung or the middle rung, may not be as privileged as top leaders who have help at hand, who can get their children dropped to school, or who can have someone cook their meals.
Absolutely. And I think this is going to be detrimental for bringing in more and more women into the workforce participation, right? Purely while you say privilege, but we also know that the primary caregiver in any family in India today is still women. So that's not changing anytime soon. It probably may change a little bit in the urban cities, but in tier 2, tier 3 cities, it's definitely not changing. So even if we have help at home, the primary responsibility resides with the women. And if we expect a man and a male and a female colleagues to sit and spend 90 hours, clearly the female colleague will not be able to spend that much time, and it will actually work in the negative for her. So yeah, so it's not practical for any gender, leave alone women. But if there's a comparison, women clearly will be left out a lot more than what it is right now. Incidentally, we are only at about 22-23% women participation in the workforce. In the IT sector, which is so-called the knowledge sector, and we have more flexibility and a hybrid form of learning, with still about 36-37% participation. So I think we have a long way to go, and some policies will clearly leave a lot more women behind. And like Devina said, I don't think we can progress a lot more without having equal participation from the gender that has that much of population in the country.
Okay, Piyush, let me come to you now. I think a lot of people were very surprised by the company response. Many would have imagined that the company will quickly, get into damage control mode and say that, perhaps this was taken a little out of context. But that's not what the L&T statement seems to indicate. They have firmly stood behind the chairman, saying that for nation building, this is really needed. What do you make of the big debate that's raging out there?
I think with a view like this from the chairman of a company, first thing they should do is to change the name to lynch and torment. That would be a better thing for them to start with, because this is a lynch and torment thinking. To my mind, the quality of work is not number of hours. It's not work-life balance. It's heart and mind balance. And if you have to appeal to the heart and minds of people to get the best work out of them, it's not because of number of hours. I'm sorry, it is completely incorrect. And if I am in advertising, yes, I can have weird hours. That doesn't mean that I work for 90 hours a week. There will be moments when all of us need to get into the thing and do something, as somebody else said earlier, we do it. But this is savage thinking. I think lynch and torment is a better name. Get back to reality. There are countries saying, if the person is in a better state of mind, you get better work out. So it's a no-no for me. And the ladies out here, they're thinking, I completely support it. And will you stare at your wives? Are you mad? What kind of a thing is that? I think you'll get into a situation like China where you are looking for kids. If you think of Chinese thinking. So get on with it, get best work out. Nation is built on good people, hard-working people, but not slaves.
So let's talk about, what's the middle ground or what needs to change. We're in 2025 and we still have unfortunate instances. I mean, we all remember what happened with the EY, obviously. I mean, that's a matter that's still being sort of investigated, so I don't want to get into too many details there. But there seems to be a narrative, and this is something that Mr. Bajaj will play out his sound bites in just a bit. He said this to us just now, that as a company, Bajaj Auto has a gym, there's a yoga center, he himself is a big practitioner, but there's still a mindset. He says that during the day, while, I mean, he's very encouraging of people taking breaks and, doing a quick workout in between, the center is going to be totally empty, not more than 10 to 12 people during the day. If at all people come in, it'll only be after 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or before 8 a.m. So it's a mindset thing that I need to be, as someone on the panel said, that I need to be at my desk so that my boss can see me during my 9 or 10 working hours. Sanjeev, does that need to not change?
See, we can all make great, warm-hearted, fuzzy statements of intent, but very often, there are deadlines to be met. And if the deadlines to be met, you can't say, hey, you know what, I'm going to the gym, I'll see you later. And you've got to manage the two. So it's easy to come on TV and say, take a break, right? But then what happens to the work? And you've got to figure that out.
Devina, come in on this. And I mean, if I could argue from Sanjeev's standpoint as well, and let me throw in the other extreme that corporate India is dealing with, right? The Gen Z or Gen Y or Gen whichever, WXY that you talk about. Basically, youngsters in their 20s joining the workforce and leaving very quickly. Not willing to sort of, think of a very long-term career. We see that all around in several industries. So that's also a very real challenge that corporate India is looking at. So what's the middle ground of having some balance, having sort of work deadlines and projects being met, but at the same time, being a little more forward, being a little more futuristic with the way corporate India is, sort of dealing with its employees?
I think, as Sanjeev said, that if there are deadlines to be met, work to be done, you'll have to work the hours. Sometimes you'll have to work beyond the mandated hours.
Sure.
I mean, 40 hours can never be a rigid thing, especially in a knowledge kind of business. And as I said, there could be clients in another time zone. There could be anything. There could be something that comes up after office hours. So I'm not saying that I will not call up an employee after 6 in the evening if there's something I need to know. So that's not the point. But on the other hand, I'm also flexible. We have not mandated that everybody comes back to office depending on the function and depending on their home circumstances, also whether they have a real quiet place to work. People are still working from home. Some people are working from other cities, and they are happy that we can be at home. Look, we don't have a commute. So that actually means that we can work and we can even answer queries. As one of my customer service people said, that I don't mind answering a query at 10:30 because I'm sitting in my hometown in Bihar and with my parents and my wife and my kids. But that apart, as I said, the point is that the work has to be the focus. It cannot be that you just put in the X number of hours. And in any kind of knowledge business, which is, I think, the entire panel, it is not all. You need some time off even to think, to come up with something different, to come up with some strategy. We are not hammering nails into a plank of wood all day. We have to we have to think.
Yeah.
So we have to optimize. Yes, there will be times when you have to work longer hours, but it cannot be all the time. That is the essential part.
Okay, got that point. Just hold your thought. We need to take a very, very quick break, but we come back and the discussion continues. Can India really be looking at a 90-hour work week? Back in just a moment. Welcome back to this special discussion. We are discussing, of course, the big, wide social debate and the furor that has broken out after the L&T chairman's comments seem to suggest that India, like the Chinese, should look at a 90-hour work week, including Sundays. Actually, before we talk about the way forward with our panel, let's hear out what Rajiv Bajaj had to say on the matter. And he is at the other end of the spectrum entirely. He's saying that the world needs to come together and become a more gentler place. Take a look at what he's saying on work-life balance.
In the pursuit of being competitive, we don't make arguments in a vacuum. It's always relative. So a company has to do what it needs to do to be competitive, and that unfortunately is dictated by the marketplace. But having said that, my point of view to start with would be simply this, that putting in enough work is obviously important, be it 70 or 90 hours or what have you. But at first, to be clear that the hours we are putting in, what is the quality, the efficiency and effectiveness of that? I think that is more critical than the sheer number of hours. For me, qualitatively, it is a more important issue than quantitatively. Let's walk the talk. Then let the 90 hours start from the top. And then if it proves to be fruitful or productive over, let's say, a period of 2, 3, 4 years, if we find that it works as a proof of concept, then let us talk about, implementing it down the line. It's a very big problem when, all the big talk happens at the top, but the implementation starts from the bottom. I think that is not fair.
Okay, so let's quickly take final views from the panel. The question I have is a very simple one. How do we move away from a policing culture, swipe in, swipe out, to a more responsible employee culture where employees enjoy their benefits and therefore they're willing to work more sincerely and more productively? Piyush, is it a pipe dream or is it a possibility? And what would your prescription be to corporate India?
I think it's very simple, Surabhi. It's purely a question of not dictating. It is about conversing with your people. It's about chatting with your people. It's about encouraging and motivating them to give their best. It's not about a ruler in your hand and saying, finish your homework now or else. So it is your temperament, your belief, your sincerity, which will kind of seep into the sincerity of others. It's not rules.
Neeti, tell us from your experiences, and I mean, you look at sort of the workforce across several industries as well. how high on the priority list after sort of compensation and positioning in a company, how high are some of these softer aspects when employees decide to either quit or decide to take up a job? Of course, we've come a long way after COVID. We learned to work very well with the digital medium, but now we seem to have forgotten a lot of those newer lessons that we had picked up with the use of technology.
I think it's very, very high. The first question a lot of job seekers ask us is, what is my working model? Is it going to be, full-time from home? Is it going to be hybrid? Is it going to be full-time from office? So if it's full-time from office, take me off that list. I'm not interested, especially in the knowledge, industry. But other industries, manufacturing, retail, e-com, obviously everything has to be field manual work. So they don't have a choice. But definitely the softer aspects. What is it that I'm getting by working for 10 hours, 12 hours? Is it just compensation, or is it also about, am I able to balance my life? Do I get health benefits? Do I also get, like you said, there's a gym in Bajaj. How many people are able to actually use gym? How many are using facilities that organizations are giving, crash facilities for women? I think a lot of those tick marks that people are asking for. And, you use the word policing. Honestly, the generation that's coming into the labor workforce right now, policing is not going to work. It's actually going to be the other way around. So if we start taking a danda in the hand and saying, hey, you have to be at work from 9 to 9 or 9 to 5, that, I don't think we're going to get the right talent. Also, the fact that today, we are, in many ways, technology leaders in the world. We have to use technology to ensure that our employees become productive. They have a work-life balance, but also they are responsible for the work that they're given. Needless to say, I mean, all of us are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That when there is work, we have to ensure we put in the hours and we complete the work.
Sure.
Whether it's a project, whether it's a call, whether it is an assignment, whatever it is.
Sure.
But when not, can I take some time off? Can I take, I don't need to work 9 hours, 10 hours a day, every single day. Can I probably, work 14 hours someday, but not work 9 hours the other day? I think that's the balance as employers.
Sure.
We also have to bring in, and clearly the job seekers that are coming into the labor market today are well aware of the balance they need. And they keep asking for options. They keep asking for what are they going to learn. And if the employer is able to give them at least 70-80% of that, they take the job. Many don't actually take the jobs that don't have these kind of benefits for them.
Let me ask Sanjeev if he's convinced to some extent. Sanjeev, Neeti is making a really important point that if you're going to take a ruler in the hand and have a very rigid approach, you just won't get the right talent, especially the younger lot.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody's recommending a ruler. I don't think 90 hours a week can be mandated. If it is, you lose talent. But the truth is, जब deadline है तो है, जब काम है तो है, वो करना पड़ेगा. Now, nobody's saying and fundamentally 12 and a half hours a day, 7 days a week is not sustainable beyond a week or two.
So Sanjeev, the broader question. How do we make workplaces more humane, more collaborative, where culture is not just a word you use on your LinkedIn, posts, where it is a healthy workplace, where the company's objectives are met and employees are actually happy? What's the middle ground?
No, I think a competitive talent market will do that automatically, because if you're not a good place to work, you will lose talent, and you will find it hard to attract talent. So I think a competitive marketplace for talent does that on its own.
Okay, final word with Devina, and then I'll leave the last one with Piyush. Devina, quick 30 seconds. Your sort of suggestion or hope from India Inc. in 2025 on this issue.
I'll just do it on a lighter note. If you see the Wikipedia entry on the chairperson of L&T, you'll find that it says that he's an avid, he has an avid interest in Western classical music and in cricket. So if you're working 13 hours, 7 days a week, where is the time to do this? And as I've written in my Twitter post, also I found the book on Mr. Narayan Murthy and Sudha Murthy a bit disturbing in terms of that you choose to have a family and then spend zero time with the children. It is kind of and basically have your wife take a backseat in her career, even though she was the more brilliant and the of the two.
Yeah.
And that's the model that really it comes down to. If you are mandating this 70, 84, 90, I have heard all these numbers over the last few years. But of course, as Sanjeev said, when work is to be done, it has to be done, whether you're a man or a woman. But on an ongoing basis, this is not sustainable. I mean, you've seen two startup founders drop dead in the last couple of weeks. That's what comes with the not taking care of your physical and mental health, which has to be done along with work.
Absolutely. Piyush, if I could come to you, last word, 30 seconds left. And this makes me wonder if this is just a cultural issue. We as Indians, I'm always baffled. I mean, the biggest banks in the US, the biggest clearinghouses, they shut down. They managed to take a 5-6 day business break. Nothing stops. The world goes on. Banking doesn't shut, but people manage to take time off to be with their family. So is it just a cultural thing that we are sort of stuck with as Indians, that we don't know how to slow down? What would your final words be?
No, I think we know how to slow down. I think we have to come to an agreement. We have to come to a commitment. Commitment is number one. It's not number of hours. And I think if we understand that, I think we also, last thing I want to say is, even we don't have to give a free hand to the youngsters who say, I won't work if I don't get this. Then you don't come here. I'll find somebody else. Let's come to an agreement which is amicable to both parties.
Well, we hope that both sides will keep the conversations and the dialogues open, and eventually there will be that middle ground where companies are prospering, margins are soaring, revenues are rising, and employees are also very, very happy. On that optimistic note, we close. Piyush, I think you have a final point.
One last bit is, it can actually help a lot of employment if you come down to 45 hours and hire more people. That's another thought for Mr. L&T.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining in. Important subject, important debate. Thank you so much for sharing your views on it.